They told you that you are just human, a body, a name, a job title. You were taught that your life begins when you are born and ends when your heart stops beating. But something in you has always rejected that idea, hasn't it? Not loudly, not in anger, but silently, like a quiet ache just beneath the surface, the ache of a truth buried too long. What if I told you this entire identity, your job, your family role, even your memories, was built like a cage to keep something ancient asleep inside you? You were not born to find your purpose. You were sent here to remember it. There is a version of you that's watching right now, from behind your eyes, from beyond this life, from somewhere the world has taught you to forget. And if you've ever asked yourself, why do I feel so different? Why can't I just fit in? What is this sense of something more? You're not crazy, you're not broken, you're waking up. Because you are not just human, you are a spark wrapped in skin, a soul wearing a nervous system, a fragment of consciousness pretending to be a person until it remembers what it really is. And in this video, we're going to uncover the 7 invisible signs that prove you've always been more than this body, more than this name, more than this world. But be warned, once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you remember who you are, this version of your life will begin to dissolve. So if you're not ready, stop watching. Because what comes next isn't just information, it's activation. You felt the tremor in your soul. Now it's time to name it. The first sign is the silence inside you that doesn't belong to this world. You've heard it, not with your ears, but with something deeper. A kind of stillness that falls over you in the middle of noise, in a crowd, at work, even during laughter. Suddenly, you're gone, disconnected, like you're watching life happen instead of living it. This is not dissociation. This is alignment. You are tuning out of the matrix and into yourself. The part of you that notices that silence. That's not the mind. That's the soul. It doesn't speak in language. It speaks in knowing. You begin to sense things before they happen, feel people before they speak. You know when someone's lying, not because of their words, but because something in your body tightens without reason. That's not intuition, that's memory. Your system remembers energy because you've lived long enough, in other forms, other lifetimes, to know how it feels. Your hands may be new, your voice may be different, but your awareness has been here before. It's walked this earth in temples, in caves, in forgotten cities no history book will name. So when you feel displaced in modern life, it's because your soul remembers a rhythm older than machines, a pace slower than time, a truth deeper than logic. You were taught to dismiss these feelings, call them coincidence, call them imagination. But none of this is random. You're not out of place. You're just not from the surface. You are deep, layered, multidimensional. And when you begin to hear that silence more often, not as emptiness, but as a signal, you'll know. The part of you that watches is the part that remembers, and it's been waiting for you to stop identifying as the mask you wear. This is your first sign. The system has cracks. Your soul is slipping through. You're not broken, you're breaking out. The second sign isn't something you can explain to anyone, not clearly, not completely, because it lives in the space between words. It's the pull, the draw towards something unseen, something ancient, familiar, but unnamed. It's not religion, not politics, not success, fame, or pleasure. It's that magnetic hunger for something more, for meaning you can't Google, for a truth no one ever taught you, but somehow you already miss. You feel it strongest at night. When the world quiets and the noise dies down, a whisper starts rising from the place behind your ribs. It says, "This isn't all there is. This isn't where it ends. There's more." You know it, and you do, but you can't point to it. You can't prove it. You just feel the tension of a knowing trying to be remembered. You're drawn to books others call strange, to art that feels like a message from another life, to voices that talk about frequencies, timelines, dimensions, ancient codes. You never needed to be convinced. You only needed someone to confirm what your soul already screamed. This world is not the whole story. You see it in the stars, in geometric patterns, in ancient languages, in dreams that repeat themselves like chapters. Your mind says, this is interesting, but your body says, this is home. That resonance, that full body yes, is your second sign. It's not curiosity, it's recognition. You're not learning anything new, you're remembering. Because before you were taught who you were, before you were given a name, a family, a system to believe in, you knew. You knew that the universe speaks in symbols, that the divine doesn't use a megaphone, it uses patterns, that the truth hides in plain sight, and only those who feel will see. That pull you've carried all your life, it's not pulling you outward, it's pulling you inward, back to origin, back to source, back to what you've always been, before you ever agreed to be human. The third sign reveals itself not in what you seek, but in what you resist. You've always struggled with the script, the path you were given. Go to school, get a job, settle down, fit in, obey, accept, repeat. But no matter how hard you try, the checklist of life never sits right in your chest. You play along for a while. You smile when expected. You speak the language of small talk. But underneath it all, a storm brews, not out of anger, but from a deeper knowing. This is not why I came here. The third sign is your inability to be fully domesticated, because you weren't made for the cage. When others find safety in conformity, you find suffocation. When they ask for rules, you ask for meaning. You've always questioned systems, not to destroy them, but to understand why they were built, why they demand obedience, why they fear the unknown, and most of all, why they work so hard to make you forget your own power. You've been labeled rebellious, difficult, too intense, too sensitive, too much. But what they call flaws are actually frequencies. You're tuned to something higher, and the lower patterns of control cannot digest that signal. It's not rebellion, it's remembering. You weren't designed to follow blindly. You were programmed to awaken. That tension you feel in crowded places, in fake conversations, in forced identities, that's your soul rejecting the simulation. The more awakened you become, the more illusion becomes unbearable. You don't hate the world. You just know it's not the real one. You sense the script is a loop, a distraction, a soft prison with velvet chains. You're not meant to escape this reality by force. You're meant to see through it, and that seeing, that refusal to be lulled back to sleep, is the third sign. Not everyone can wake up, but those who do find that the prison door was never locked, only hidden. There comes a moment when reality starts speaking to you, not in words, but in patterns. You start noticing numbers, repeating digits on clocks, 11:11, 2:22, 3:33. You hear a phrase in your mind, and seconds later, it echoes from a stranger's mouth. You think of someone, and they call. You feel something shift, and the world mirrors it. This isn't coincidence, it's synchronicity. And it's the fourth sign that you are not just human. Because the human mind sees randomness, but your soul sees rhythm. Your life becomes a dialogue between your inner world and the field around you, a conversation between spirit and structure. And suddenly, everything means something. The book that falls off the shelf, the lyrics you hear on the drive home, the storm that arrives the moment you decide to quit. These are not accidents. They are signals, winks from the cosmos, reminders from your higher self that you're still aligned. But here's the key. Synchronicity doesn't show up to entertain you. It shows up to guide you, to confirm you're on the path, or to redirect when you're not. Those signs intensify when you're close to breakthrough, when you're about to see past the veil, or fall back asleep. You've probably tried to ignore them before, brushed them off, laughed at your own intuition, because that's what this world taught you to do, to distrust your knowing in favor of data. But data will never explain why time bends around your thoughts, why the universe rearranges itself to reflect your inner state, why the moment you surrender, things start to unfold without effort. You're not imagining the signs, you're finally perceiving the code. This is the language of alignment. It doesn't need translation, only attention. And once you start listening, you begin to realize the world isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. You are not reacting to reality. You are in co-creation with it. The fourth sign is not just about seeing magic. It's about knowing that the magic is answering you. You are not a character in someone else's dream. You are the dreamer, waking up in real time. There is a part of you that never changes. It doesn't age. It doesn't panic. It doesn't participate in the chaos. It simply watches. You've felt it before. That moment when your thoughts spiral, but something deeper inside you remains still. Like a quiet witness watching your mind burn itself out. This is not disconnection. It's presence, and it's the fifth sign. The most ignored, yet the most powerful. You are the observer of this reality, not its prisoner. You see, most people live from the surface. They think they are their thoughts, their emotions, their roles. But you've always known. There's something else underneath all of it, something watching the waves without getting pulled under. And once you become aware of the observer, everything begins to shift. You stop reacting, you start witnessing. You recognize that anger is a cloud, not the sky, that grief is a visitor, not the home, that thoughts are tools, not truths. The observer is not passive, it is potent. It sees without judgment. It hears what the world doesn't say. It holds the mirror when you forget who you are. And the more you root into that space, the more you begin to understand. This body is not you, it's a suit. This name is not you, it's a sound. This story is not you, it's an experience you chose to inhabit temporarily. Your entire identity, your pain, your patterns, your history, all of it exists within what you are. But what you are exists outside of all of it. That is why, even in your darkest moments, there was a part of you that never broke, never faded, never gave in, because it couldn't. It was never part of the illusion. It was the witness behind the eyes, the silence beneath the noise, the light behind the projection. And once you realize the observer is real, that it's always been there, you begin to live differently, not chasing experiences, but choosing them, not fearing pain, but watching it pass like weather, because the real you is not the storm, it's the sky. And that sky, it doesn't end where your skin does. It stretches beyond this body, beyond this timeline, beyond this world. This is why you've always felt too big for your life, too deep for conversations, too awake for the script. Because you were never meant to stay in character. You were meant to remember the one watching the stage. And now, you are. There's a kind of knowing that doesn't use language. It arrives without logic, without thought. It just is, like a truth you didn't learn, but somehow always had. And it whispers to you when the world goes quiet. You feel it in the space between breaths, in the pause before you speak, in the pull towards something you can't explain. This is the sixth sign. You're beginning to receive guidance from beyond the thinking mind. It doesn't come as a voice, it comes as a vibration, a shift, a soft gravity that leads you without force. You feel it strongest when you're not trying, when you're not asking for answers, but becoming the question, when you surrender needing to know, and the knowing comes anyway. This is not instinct, not intellect. It is direct transmission from your higher self, the eternal you that never left source. The world taught you to override this voice, to silence it with noise, to second-guess it with reason. But reason is a cage when it's not balanced by soul. This inner signal, this feeling that a choice is wrong, even when it looks right on paper, is sacred. It's not fear, it's frequency, and you've felt it. You've walked away from people without knowing why. You've turned down offers that looked perfect. You've stayed silent when others demanded answers, because something deeper said, "Not this, not now, not here." And when you listened, you never regretted it, even if you couldn't explain why, even if it didn't make sense to anyone else. That's because the truth never shouts. It pulls. It tugs gently on the strings of your being, asking you to trust something ancient, older than language, older than belief, older than this lifetime. As you grow more attuned to this inner knowing, you stop outsourcing your authority. You stop chasing permission. You stop needing confirmation, because the voice you've been looking for was never external. It was waiting behind your thoughts, waiting in the silence, waiting in you. And once you learn to trust that wordless guidance, life stops feeling like a maze and starts becoming a mirror of your alignment, your intuition, your remembered divinity. You are not here to be taught, you are here to remember. And memory begins in silence. There is a moment, sometimes quiet, sometimes catastrophic, when the world you've built begins to dissolve. Not because it's broken, but because it was never real. This is the final sign, the most sacred, the most terrifying, and the most liberating. You hear the call, not through sound, but through loss, through emptiness, through the hollowing out of everything you thought you were. The job no longer fulfills you. The relationship feels misaligned. The desires that once drove you start to disappear, like smoke through your fingers. You are left staring at your own life, wondering, whose dream was I living? That question, that pause, that stillness. It's not the end, it's the beginning, because the seventh sign is the collapse of the illusion and the emergence of the you that's always been watching. You no longer want answers. You want truth, not someone else's truth, not packaged spirituality, but the raw, sacred, untamed force that lives behind your ribs and under your skin. You are drawn inward, not to escape, but to return. You start to feel what's real, not what's marketed, not what's rewarded, but what resonates in your bones. And here's the truth most people run from. Awakening is not comfortable. It's not peaceful. It's not some aesthetic lifestyle with crystals and soft music. Awakening is loss. It's grief. It's identity death. It's the cracking open of every mask you've ever worn. But in the ruins, you find the only thing that ever mattered. The stillness beneath your name, the presence beyond your roles, the truth that doesn't need to be proven, because it is. And once that part of you awakens, you can't go back. You can't unknow what you now know. You can't pretend to be asleep in a world that has started to shine with symbols. You can't lie to yourself in a language your soul no longer speaks. You're not here to improve your life. You're here to transcend it, to live as the soul you've always been, wearing a body, playing a role, but never again forgetting the watcher behind the eyes. This is your call, your reckoning, your invitation to dissolve. You were never just human, and now you remember.